plays Falco. Sorry, Samus when he plays this character. And it's looking like purple Samus. Oh, yeah, it's purple Samus. So we're going Samus Dittos here.
Oh, God.
Boy, so hopefully not Dreamland. That would be ideal.
Do we have a pink Samus picture?
I don't think we do because we don't have a black Samus either. And I don't know. I thought maybe I was just like reading the color wrong or something. I guess it doesn't really matter because like Samus's helmet stays red regardless of the colors. But we have pink.
Oh, sporting the lolly tag. Let's go.
What is the story behind this lolly tag that you were using earlier too?
I don't. Basically, when Carmen was drunk at one of those bowling alley moles, he was just yelling, "They bombed the lollies!" from some anime. I don't even remember which one it was. And,
okay.
And then I used the tag in brackets, and he was like, "Yo, the lolly tag!"
Oh boy. Okay.
So I don't know.
All right. Well, I'll let that pass on then. Oh my goodness. All right. I don't even want to commentate this one. This is just.
What?
The only thing worse than this to me is Puff Dittos. Well, no, and even then, that's exciting because of rest. But this is... I do like Samus Dittos. They're fun to play, but not fun to watch. In my modest but substantially objective opinion, I like to think. But Sexpaint is pretty confident in this matchup just because he fights so many Samuses and Dittos.
Yeah.
Especially Rose. So, if he can pick apart one that is not nearly as polished as, say, Rose, then...
he shouldn't have nearly as much problem.
Exactly.
With,
even though he is at a higher percent, he's keeping the
Mr. Hospital over here.
Mr. Hospital. Mr. R. Hospital. Oh, dear, and he ducks under that forward tilt. Oh. Meanwhile, these Samuses today are just doing this wall bounce missile projectiles. This is... I kind of hate this.
There we go. We're on pace to timeout if every stock takes as long as that did. Just over 2 minutes. Probably won't, but you know. What is there to talk about? What is there to talk about?
I gave up, dude. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, alright, so let me tell you about the time I got malaria. Okay, so when I was a kid, depends on the country. I mean, the thing is, it's an incredibly easy disease to cure, but because of just like the amount of people that have it, like the population, too many people have it, and Africa, just like in general, like the amount, like the people that have it do not have access to like medication for it. So it really just depends, because it's incredibly easy to cure depending on what it is. Yeah. Alright, so yeah, I guess I'm going to tell stream about the time I got malaria, because that's far more interesting than this, I guess. Okay, so, be me. I live in a family that traveled around a lot, because my mom works for the UN. And so I lived in Africa for 9 years when I was a kid. And I moved to Sierra Leone for a year because of the war. So my mom was doing peacekeeping there, and you know, everything was kind of shitty, as in electricity was off for literally half the day, every day, if not more. Health quality was not good. People were walking around without arms because of the Civil War, and it was, I'm making this out to be a joke, but honestly it was a very awful place at the time. Because if you've seen the movie Blood Diamond, it was like that, less Hollywood, but actually rather accurate.
Well, everything's less Hollywood.
Yeah, very true. Okay, so the school I went to was the American International School of Freetown. It was the capital of Sierra Leone, and because of the war, it had shut down, but it was just reopening for the first time in a few years, and it was an incredibly small amount of people. Altogether, there were a total of about 20 kids at the entire school.
Jeez.
Yeah.
How many years did they teach?
Kindergarten and under were all in the same grade. They taught everything up through high school.
All right.
But kindergarten and below was all in the same classroom, and that was about 5. First grade through 3rd grade was all in the same classroom, and there were 5 of us as well, or 6 of us, sorry. And no, there were 5, sorry. And then 4th grade through 12th grade was all in the same room. Yeah, and there were about however many of those, like 12 or so. Yeah, 10 or so. Yeah, 10. Correct. So. But yeah, no. So it was very like, what the hell is going on up in here? But first day, I was meeting these people and, eventually became friends with them. But at the time, I was just kind of like the new, like, we were all new kids at the school because it was just opening or whatnot. But halfway through the day, I just kind of like, I'm really feeling really tired, and I like kind of pass out in the corner of the room. And my teacher tries, or like one of those students is like, he's sleeping, ha ha ha, teacher, he shouldn't be sleeping. And my teacher's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. And then just like fall back asleep immediately. And she's like, okay, this isn't good. So she tells the principal, and the principal tells my mom. So like, when my mom comes to pick me up later, I'm like passed out. Like I go downstairs to wait for my mom, and I pass out on a chair like right outside the door. So I'm just like sitting there, and like, the principal's just like standing next to me, and she's like, I think you should take your son to the doctor because he's exhibiting signs of malaria. Because he's just asleep, he's just like dead. And my mom's like, okay. So we go to the UN doctors, who are a bunch of people who had come in from the UN, I guess, mission in Jordan, which isn't important. But because of medical facilities, basically they were like, oh, we know what's wrong with him. He just has like a vitamin deficiency or something. Whatever, we'll give him a shot. So they pull meanwhile, I'm terrified of needles. To this day, I hate needles. I hate blood tests even more. Oh my god, we're going Brinstar. Jesus Christ. Meanwhile, the doctor pulls a... Still have something to say.
Alright, so this is very important. This stage has 2 walls. You see how those little bulby things are that you can break in the middle of the stage and split it? There are walls on either side of that. Both Link and Samus, and young Link, can hookshot or plasma grab those walls.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And I doubt either of these players know about it.
I didn't know about that either. Right on. Thank you for telling me that, Stro. That's actually interesting. Cool. Okay.
So amazingly cerebral stage.
Amazing.
That has walls,
I'll say.
apparently.
Especially because I'm Mother Brain, Okay, so the doctor pulls out a syringe that he had evidently obviously used before because it's sitting in a jar of alcohol. And he's like, oh no, that's, it's fine. But I'm freaking out because I don't want a shot. My mom starts freaking out because she's like,
most people would be freaking out right now.
Yeah, yes. Exactly. And considering how rampant disease is in Africa, it's not, it should not be a thing. So basically, my mom's like, "All right, thank you. We're not going to do that." So she takes me home. I have a checkup with like a normal UN doctor, and it's like, okay, well, he needs to, keep hydrated, keep whatever. But for the next 2 weeks, I basically refuse to eat. I don't do anything. I lose, 20.
Like you didn't want to. You felt like you're.
So I wasn't hungry, and when I ate food. I've never experienced this before, but like, how like in stories they're like, oh man, he ate the food but it tasted terrible. I actually had that where like my maid would like we had maids at the time in Africa because they're very like cheap labor. They're like they call themselves maids. It's like more what house helps are here, and babysitters, little bit nannies.
All right, I gotta
later, dude. I guess I'll continue the story. Regardless, she tries cooking food and I think it tastes absolutely awful, and I've never had that before in my life, and I never have again. But I lose like 20 pounds over the course of like 2 weeks because I basically refuse to eat and drink. My mom has to force feed me things. I try taking medication, and I end up like throwing it back up, things like that. Eventually, I have to be hospitalized because my fever spikes 103, which isn't that bad, but for an 8-year-old, my mom's like, oh my god. So yeah. I end up having to go to the hospital, and we meet an awesome doctor whose name was Dr. Thomas, and, I'm partial to that name because, I hear that guy Pharaoh has the same first name, but he goes by Tom. Anyway, the cool thing, I start hallucinating. I don't actually remember this whatsoever, but that happens, and, I start seeing people that aren't there, etc., etc. I don't remember this because my fever is so freaking high and my head's like a boiling rock. What I do remember is that they couldn't find a good vein in my arm, so I had an IV in my foot. That was a very unique thing. That was the first time I didn't cry in my life when I was, injected with a needle, because I was just so delirious. But I do remember that. But the cool things about being in the hospital were I got free pizza from my mom's coworkers, and my mom's workmate who went back to the U.S. recorded a bunch of shows on Nickelodeon that were just coming out at the time and came back to Sierra Leone with tapes of those. So, that was the first time that I ever, after that sickness, after my malaria passed and I was let out of the hospital, that was the first time I was able to watch SpongeBob for the first time, watch Rocket Power, and, the new episodes of Rugrats all grown up and things like that. It was just unique, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is what I miss, because never mind that I didn't get satellite in Sierra Leone, but, even of the things I was able to watch in Ghana, which is where I lived before that, I was only able to watch Cartoon Network. Nickelodeon wasn't available, and no Nickelodeon shows were available until maybe 5 years later.